Good morning. How are you going? Welcome to the Million Dollar Morning. This morning, I'm going to touch on something very important, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, and that is the fear of failure. Fear of failure is very debilitating. Fear of failure can crush you and suppress you and hold you down from taking action. I know I've spoken to many entrepreneurs that have come and had a chat with us about helping them, and a lot of people get stuck with this fear of failure, being in this moment where anxiety and fear and debilitation for moving forward or taking action is really holding them back, and they can't take the action that they want to be able to move forward in their business. They can't try new and innovative things because they're worried about these things failing. And it's a very debilitating problem. And a lot of people struggle with this very, very powerful affliction and don't know how to deal with it. So this morning, I'm going to touch on some tools and strategies on how you can effectively deal with fear of failure, how you can manage it and put it into perspective where you're able to move forward and take action much more effectively. Now, these are tools that I use. These are tools that I show all my clients how to use, and it's very, very effective. We use many, many tools in our business to help entrepreneurs to become more effective in their businesses. This is one of those components. I'm going to show you some of the stuff that's very, very effective. It's very powerful and will help you to be in control of the emotions of fear of failure and be able to subdue it and take control of it. All right. So, without any further ado, let's get stuck in. All right. So, here's the thing. Just before I get into this, I want to just zoom out a little bit and show you that this is part of our system, and it's what I'm going to share with you this morning, is part of our base component. This is the mindset component. This is strengthening your mindset up to be able to be effective in your business as an entrepreneur. This base level is all pretty much about mindset and about strengthening up your mindset. So today's session is pretty much covering a few pieces out of these three puzzles at the bottom here. All right. And this is the exact same system we use to help entrepreneurs get on top of things like doubt, overwhelm, and foggy brain. A very, very powerful tool that we use to help people become more effective. Now, the best investment you can ever make is the investment in your brain, right? So many people spend millions of dollars on their businesses or millions of dollars buying into investments, and they lack the ability to see the power or the ability to invest in the brain. The brain is the most powerful component, the most valuable asset you will ever own. It is by far the one thing that's going to move you forward in life. If you know how to manage and master the neurochemistry within inside your brain, you're going to be much more effective. You're going to feel more confident. You're going to be happier. You're going to be able to challenge the status quo much more effectively because your neurochemistry, your brain, is working for you instead of against you. And I see a lot of people having this context of their brain working against them, this fear coming up and holding them down, not being in a good mood, not being able to manage their emotions. And it's a powerfully debilitating thing. Even if you have movement forward, you can still face fear of failure. Even if you have a successful business, you can still face the fear of failure. Even if you're doing really well in life, at some point you're going to want to do something and you're going to face fear of failure. So it's important to understand how to massage these and how to manage them, because the emotion of fear is very powerful and it's debilitating. All right, so as entrepreneurs, we're on this mission to push forward. We want to excel and achieve great things in our lives, but there's three big things that hold us back for the most part, right? It's overwhelm, doubt, and a foggy brain. Today we're going to talk a little bit about that doubt and how you can get in charge of that doubt. So the power of being in control of your neurochemistry, it's one of the most rewarding and most confident building, boosting things you can do. Because when you have control of your biology, you have control of most of your life, right? And it's not perfect. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be hiccups, but you get to deal with these things much more effectively. You get to achieve your goals much more succinctly, right? This is a 7-year journey of me being in control of my biology, because at one point I wasn't. At one point it was debilitating. I was struggling. I was feeling doubt. I was feeling that fear of failure right in the beginning, 7 years ago, I was going through this state where a lot of people go through, wanting to get into business, wanting to start a whole new journey, and I was facing this fear of failure. I was facing these emotions that were debilitating me and holding me back and causing me to be in a place where I didn't want to be. It was depressing. It was, overwhelming. And being in that situation, time and time again, and being stuck in that situation, that cycle of fear of failure for so many years, eventually I realized that I needed to break out from that. And the only way to do that was to understand how my biology worked, and specifically my neurochemistry, because I realized my neurochemistry was a thing that was really the barrier to all of this. And once I did, it was a revolutionary transformation. It changed everything for me. It changed my whole life, the way I thought, the way I looked at life, the way I did things, because now being in control of your emotions, being in control of your confidence, is a very powerful state to be in. And so for the last 7 years, this is my physical transformation, and I wish I could show people my mental transformation. I wish I could take my brain out and give it to people and show them how amazing it feels when you can be confident and you can be in control of your emotions and your neurochemistry. And the effects have been, for me, extraordinary. And they've been ongoing and long-term. And this is what we need as humans to be striving for, is to be in charge of that neurochemistry, so that we're not feeling drained or overwhelmed or being held back by this fear of failure. And we got two big controlling mechanisms in our biochemistry, right? In our bodies. The first is our autonomic nervous system. Our nervous system drives us forward and holds us steady, right? It's that whole system inside of us that will, prevent us from getting into trouble, or calm us down, or put us into a state of rest, or put us into a state of what we call fight or flight, right? And that autonomic nervous system is a very powerful system. And it's when you know how to manage that and massage that autonomic nervous system, you can really be in more control of this anxiety or this fear of failure, stopping you from moving forward. We also have our executive function, right? The executive function in the front of our forehead, which is the controller for our whole system. And it's where all the decisions get made and how we manage our autonomic nervous system. And when we get to the core of it, and I don't want to touch a whole lot of science around this, but it's literally our nervous system is like a bunch of screaming kids, right? It's noisy. It's just yelling out all these kind of signals to our brain, and our brain has to put it and process it. And our executive function needs to put it into context and create an outcome. Now, what do you do when you've got screaming kids around you, right? You're in a classroom, say you pretend you're a teacher and there's just screaming kids around you. What do you have to do? You have to take control of the situation. You have to take control of those kids and let them understand that you are the teacher. You are the one that's making the decisions. They need to sit down, be quiet, and learn, right? This is literally the same as what we need to do with our nervous system and with our biochemistry. It's to be in control of it, to let it know that you are in charge and that you are taking possession of your biology, of your body, and you're going to move it forward. And it's going to respond to your actions. You become the teacher. You become the driver of the car. And it's important that we understand this context, because so many people don't realize that they're actually in control of their biology. They actually there is ways and system and mechanics to calm yourself down, to control yourself, to be in charge of this fear of failure, so that it doesn't hold you back. It doesn't cause this debilitating effect in your life, preventing you from taking huge action. And when we look at this executive function, right, this control that we have inside of our brain, it's something that we can manipulate, something that we can manage, something that we are in charge of as our consciousness, right? And these neural pathways that are firing inside of our executive network are putting everything that we've got in our whole life, right? Our memories, our experiences, the things that are around us, the people that are around us, all these things get put into context inside our executive network, and then it creates a process. So if you look at it from that perspective, you start to understand that fear becomes this thing that is really intertwined to our environment, our memories, the things that we've lived in our life, and the things that we have around us, the people that we have around us. This drives our innate fear, and it gets processed in our executive network. So let me rephrase that. It's something like this. Our bodies, or the way we respond, is very connected to our environment, the people, the effects that we have directly connected to us, plus our memories, the memories of our experiences through our childhood, through our growing up as teenagers, through our adulthood, right? These memories have created a programming inside of our executive function that creates context, that creates an outcome. And we then have the ability to construct emotions. We create the emotions inside of our biochemistry based on all of these things. So there's a context in our system called introception, right? Introception is the ability to be able to understand or feel or connect with the inside of our systems, right? To like feel your heartbeat, to feel your emotions, to feel how you're experiencing life, right? To feel nervous, to feel your nervousness. This introspection is very powerful context because this gives us the ability to understand what's going on in the world around us and to understand what's going on inside of us, right? Introspection means we get to look inside of us and to take control or to understand what's happening inside of us just by thought alone, right? This introspection is where we get to control our biology, right? Introspection is where we can put context to the way we're feeling. For instance, if we're anxious, we can understand that we're anxious. And then we can actually put mechanics in place to be able to deal with or manage that anxiety or that emotion that's happening at that state. One of these key components is a context called transient hyperfrontality. Now, transient hyperfrontality is the ability to slow down your prefrontal cortex, right? This is where all of your emotions are being created, where all this chatter, internal chatter happens for the most part, and learning how to subdue that so that you can be in more control of your physiology. Transient hyperfrontality is a mechanics that happens inside your brain, whereby your brain waves can slow down, your prefrontal cortex slows down, and other parts of your brain can take more executive function and help you move forward more effectively. This is an interesting phenomenon because what happens in a state in our biology is we perform better when we slow down. When we understand this context that we perform better when we slow down, right? When we can slow our bodies down, we can be in more control of our bodies and our mind and our neurochemistry. And when we know that this is possible, we can start putting in place mechanics to be able to control and manage that fear of failure through specific things that we can do internally and kind of externally as well, which I'm going to discuss in a minute. But here's the thing. When you're able to slow your brain waves and your brain chemistry down, or your brain down, right, some very amazing things happen. You're able to power up your system. You're able to connect into your system. Now think about this for a second. You're busy doing stuff in your day. Things are going crazy. There's a lot of overwhelm. You're afraid of doing something. There's just this whole hectic day happening, right? You're never going to be able to perform and focus when you got stuff bombarded at you, right? You got this day, you're in your office, people are calling you, you got your phone going off, you got all these things going off, your body's at a state of hyper anxiousness, right? And you're trying to perform in your day. Now think about this for a minute. You slow down, you close the door to your office, you feel the quiet, you feel the peace. You're then able to look at how you can control that environment. You can slow your anxiety down, you can feel better in that moment, and you can put yourself in a much better state. This is the same kind of thing that happens when we can control our system, right? But we need to learn to slow it down. When you're facing fear of failure, it's a chronic anxiety. It's ongoing. It doesn't stop, right? Especially for entrepreneurs. Fear of failure is this context that will happen over and over and over and over again. No matter what you're doing, you're going to be facing doubt. You're going to be worried about the things that you're trying to do going forward as an entrepreneur. And these things are going to be debilitating. So we have to look at it from managing this from two different aspects, right? The first aspect is controlling your physiology. controlling the biomechanics that are happening inside your system, where you've got adrenaline pushing up and creating this anxiety feeling, right? The first part for me is always, I tell my clients, is you got to get control of the physiology. You got to get control of that anxiety feeling, the feeling of overwhelm, or the feeling that's preventing you from moving forward. When you can do this physiologically first, you put yourself in a state where you've calmed your system down, and then you can put into perspective the psychology, or the things you need to look at to drive yourself forward emotionally, right? So one of those very important physiological constructs that you can do is what we call physiological breathing, right? Physiological breathing is a very effective tool because it helps to connect right to your adrenals, and your adrenals respond quite effectively, and you can slow your system down. I use this a lot. Our clients use this a lot. It's a very effective technique, and when you do this technique, you're going to feel yourself calm down. You're going to feel yourself releasing that anxiety, and you're going to feel yourself being in a better position to manage what's coming ahead, right? That decision that you've got to make, that big deal that's coming on, or the starting a new business, or growing your new business, or going in a new direction, right? This fear of failure is, for the most part, a mechanical thing that's happening. So now we control this physiologically. One of the coolest ways to do this is called this physiological breathing. Right? It's a technique that was discovered in the early 60s, and it's been used quite predominantly, and it's being researched very effectively now in some major research facilities as a really powerful means of controlling and managing anxiety. What it is it's 2 deep breaths in, right? Breathing in, right? 2 deep breaths, a little bit shorter than your exhale. And exhaling longer than what you're breathing in will slow your nervous system down. It'll slow your whole autonomic nervous system down, and it will subdue any adrenaline and norepinephrine that is raised up in your system. It will bring that down, and it'll subdue it. It has a very powerful and effective result. Doing this 2 or 3 times can manage that physiology and bring you down to a state of more calm. So it's 2 deep breaths in. Whether you're doing it through your nose or your mouth, it doesn't matter. It has to be 2. So the second one is really filling up the polyps of your lungs and helping you manage that CO2. And when you're doing this to manage that CO2 level, you're able to send a signal through your system which will reduce your anxiety and put you in a state when you're releasing that air very slowly and as long as you can. And what you're going to do is over breathe out. Breathe out as much of that oxygen out of your system as you possibly can, and then do it again 3 times, right? So blowing all of the oxygen or all the carbon dioxide out of your system as much as you possibly can, so that there's nothing left in your lungs. This will give you more control. You'll feel, by doing this 2 or 3 times, you'll feel your system calming down. You'll feel that anxiety subsiding, and you'll feel that you can get in more control of the situation. It's a very quick, effective way to do this. It doesn't happen within seconds. It'll happen over a minute or so. Your body will slow down. As your heart responds, your brain responds, your whole nervous system will respond, and you'll feel a calming effect happening. This is a time where you want to go into a state of where you can start putting some psychological triggers in place to help you manage all of this, right? And so we have here is one of our tools that we use for strengthening the mind for taking action. A very powerful tool that you can use, and this kind of integrates with all the other stuff that we train and teach about, but this is one small component of the puzzle, right? And if we have a look at this and we go through this in a little bit of detail, I want you to understand this, right? So we have an emotion. This emotion is very powerful. It is literally born and built from adrenaline. Adrenaline builds up in your system and you feel anxious. You feel that fear of failure, right? Now you have to deal with it. The first part of dealing with it is having physiological controllers. We have quite a few of them that we use. The one that I've just shown you works really well, right? The next thing is you need to identify with your fear. You need to identify with that emotion, right? Emotions are constructed. We create our own emotions. And when we connect with our emotions and we understand what those emotions are, and we can go introspectively into those emotions, we can be in more control of those emotions, and we can do something with it inside of our body and inside of our minds, right? A couple of things happen when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling or dealing with fear of failure. One of those is you're going to have a challenge, right? You've obviously you're going to go from A to B, right? You've got to start a new business, or you're going to grow your new business, or you're doing something different to what you're normally doing, right? And so it brings on this worry that you're not going to have the ability to make it happen, and it can hold you back. So there's a challenge. You obviously need to create that challenge and know specifically what that challenge is. By writing that challenge down, you're releasing a little bit of this anxiety by understanding what the challenge is, right? So by looking at it in words, and you're putting it into context. It's a very powerful way of starting to initiate some very effective modulators in your system to be able to look at this challenge more effectively and put it into perspective. The next thing you need to do here is look at your ANTs, right? Your autonomic thought processes, right? Your autonomic negative thoughts. When you have anxiety, when you're feeling the fear of failure, you have automatic thoughts that come into your mind. These thoughts are very powerful and debilitating. They're negative thoughts. I'm not good enough. I'm not able to do this thing. I don't think I have the knowledge. I don't think I have the skill. I don't think I have the ability. I think people are going to laugh at me. I think people are going to think I'm crazy. All these things come in different angles, right? And various ones. What you want to do is write down these very powerful negative thoughts that are holding you back and put them into perspective, right? What are those things? Is it that you're worrying about what people think about you? Is it that you're worrying that you might lose everything? Is it that you worry about what your family might think? Writing these things down is going to ease that anxiety. It's going to give you the ability to look at these, why you're feeling the way you're feeling, right? And when you understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling, you're going to have more control of this biomechanisms that are happening in your system. The next level up is your emotion, right? There's a negative emotion. And this is where you can introspectively connect with your negative emotion and start to understand how your negative emotions are impacting you, right? And introspectively, you want to know and feel that emotion, that anxiety, that fear of failure, and address it and understand it, right? And understand what that emotion is. Is it sadness? Is it depression? Is it really anxiety? Is it a fear experience? What is this emotion that you have? What is this powerful emotion, and how are you feeling about this? It's very empowering when you can connect with that emotion that's holding you back. Very powerful to understand from a physiological perspective and a psychological perspective what this is that you are dealing with inside of you, right? It's very empowering. Once you've identified your emotion, right, that's holding you back, you connect with this, you can introspectively feel and acknowledge that there's that feeling inside of you, you're going to have a much more control of this experience, right? The next level up is you want to put into context what's going to happen if you don't do this thing, right? What is the worst case scenario? And we talk about dopamine a lot in our training, and how dopamine drives you forward when it's pushing away from something that you're afraid of, something that you're afraid to accomplish, right? That something that'll go wrong in your life if you don't do something, right? So the worst case scenario, if you don't do this thing, what the hell is going to happen? Where are you going to end up? Are you going to lose everything? Are you going to have to go back to a job? Is your family going to be upset with you? Is these worst case scenarios are very powerful drivers to getting you to taking action, right? And if you can put into context and words how what the worst case scenarios are, it's going to give you this boost to be able to moving forward. This is what you want to bring into this context, right? Is what happens if you don't do this thing. The next is to connect with your positive emotions. Now, this is when the power of it comes into play. Because introspectively, you want to know how you're going to feel. A lot of people, there's this whole dynamic going around that you want to experience the person that you want to be able to have success in your life, to experience this person, to visualize who you're going to be. Well, it turns out that in science, that's not really an effective way or a quick way to be able to manage this type of thing, to be able to take action and move forward. What's more powerful, what's more effective is understanding your positive emotions, what emotions you want, and identifying those emotions inside of you that you want to be able to be where you want to be. So for instance, confidence. Do I want confidence? Do I want to feel happy? Do I want to feel in control? Right? These are very powerful emotional contexts that you want to be having in your system to help you take action. And if you can put these emotions inside of you, if you can control these emotions and swap your negative emotions with your positive emotions, that's when the power happens, right? And you will do this through a meditative process. And I'll explain that in a minute. But your positive emotions are what's going to drive you forward. Your positive emotions are what's going to take you from where you are being stuck to breaking through your barriers and doing what you've got to do, right? Being able to take action is critical, but you need to have a driver. One of those drivers is going to be drivers like confidence, feeling confident, right? Convincing your body and your biochemistry that you're confident. And that confidence is very effective to helping you move forward. Confidence, control, happiness, elation, intelligence, all these emotions that you can put inside of you that'll help you crush your day is what you want to help to introspectively change your negative emotions to your positive emotions. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Right? This is all about writing this stuff down. What emotion do you want, or emotions do you want to be able to push you forward? The next is how you're going to identify with this challenge. How you're going to identify with the movement forward. How you're going to identify with taking action. Identity is critical, and identity comes in multiple levels, but for the purposes of what we're doing for fear of failure, we're driving into our purpose, right? We're drawing from our purpose, and we're drawing from our core values. Your purpose is everything. If you don't have a written down purpose of what you're trying to accomplish in the bigger scheme of things in life, it's going to be harder for you to be able to take action on anything, because you're kind of just willy-nilly going through life, trying to do things, trying to make money, trying to, just provide and survive. When you put purpose in your life, when you put purpose in front of you, it gives you this innate sense of ability to be able to push through things without having these barriers holding you back. Purpose drives a lot of your emotion. Purpose drives a lot of your neurochemistry. Purpose drives dopamine, right? When you have purpose, you're able to have a leverage point to be able to utilize this tool more effectively. And ultimately, from the foundation of purpose, you need to have your values. So your values, your purpose drives the core of your movement forward, and your values are the foundation of who you are. You need to bring value into this. Your values are everything, right? Purposefulness, control, diligence, being, organized. All these kind of values that you have as a human, or you want to put in your place. And usually, I tell clients, don't focus on a lot of values. Obviously, you want to have a lot of values on the outset, but you want to have 5 core values. 5 very important values to you that you can use to drive you every day, right? Those core values will help you break through these barriers of fear of failure. Now, this worksheet is a very powerful worksheet, and we use this a lot to give our clients a very good context on being able to manage this fear of failure, to being able to taking action, right? First of all, you're controlling your physiology, right? You're getting in control of your adrenaline and norepinephrine that's pushing this anxiety up, that's preventing you from moving forward. You've got low serotonin when you're in a state of fear of failure. That serotonin needs to be built up as well. You need to work on, there's a whole lot of mechanics here that are happening, but this tool here helps to build a foundation on breaking through fear of failure. Then we have to put this all into practice, right? And meditating is a very important component to being effective and being able to manage your biology, to being able to take control and moving forward, right? And in a meditative state, you can do some amazing things to your system, and it's been proven that you can rewire your system, you can put yourself in a better condition, and you can build confidence inside of you through a meditative process, right? Mindfulness, or whatever meditative process you're going to use, you use for yourself, and a lot of them work, but we use a specific type for entrepreneurs. We believe that mindfulness, or a specific type of mindfulness, is really good for being able to break through your barriers. Sorry, 1 second, my camera just went to sleep for a second there. So to be able to break through your barriers and rewire your brain, mindfulness is a very powerful tool to use, right? It gives you really good context to be able to get into yourself introspectively and to start managing those emotions, right? And a lot of people don't take meditation very seriously. They don't. Most people don't take meditation seriously. They know that there's this good thing that they can do meditatively, but they don't take it seriously. Let me tell you, when you take meditation seriously and you put it into practice on a daily basis, in the right frame of mind, in the right context, doing certain things inside your biology and your mind, you're going to get results that are unparalleled, right? Being in a meditative state means that you can introspectively go inside your system and reconnect, build building blocks up there to give you not only a strength for the day, but strength for the week and ongoing strength. And you don't want to get yourself into a state of happiness. You don't want to get yourself into a state of confidence. You want to live a life of confidence. You want to live a life of being in control. You want to live that life. So doing that means you've got to change the state. You've got to change your whole trait. You've got to rewire your system so that you can be able to be that person you want to be confidently all the time. And when you know how to do that, it gives you a very powerful means to moving forward every day. We do this religiously. We're very, I won't say religiously, I'll say consistently, every day to do our mindfulness training, and it's very powerful. It's been very empowering. And when you do this for a long, ongoing basis, you strengthen up your mind, you strengthen up your biology, you strengthen up your mood, your well-being. Everything connects to how strong you make your mind. So there's another part of the context, right? So you're bringing those things from the tool in to your meditative process. And what you want to do in this context, right? You've done your breathing, you've slowed yourself down. You're now going to bring in a part of a meditative process whereby you're going to change your emotions. You're going to swap out your emotions, right? And swapping out emotions is one of the most awesome things I think anyone can ever do, because really you control your emotions. You are the constructor of your emotions, and anxiety and fear are one of those emotions that you can control of, right? So here we go. You want to get into a meditative state. You want to be in a place where you're in the moment, right? In that moment means you're experiencing the sounds, nature, whatever is around you. You right now in the moment. You're not thinking forward, you're not thinking backwards. And part of what we teach our clients is to control these mind wanderings, that we can be in control of our minds so that we can focus. When you're in focus mode and when you're in the moment, you're in control of your biology. You're in control of these systems that you want to work with. And so what you'll do, whether your eyes are open, whether your eyes are closed, is connect with the emotions, right? Connecting with the emotions, the negative emotions that are holding you back. And usually it's anxiety, right? And anxiety and fear are very powerful, debilitating feelings. But connecting with them and understanding that it's there and being real that this feeling is there, this emotion is there, and you are constructing it, you are creating it, is very, very empowering when you can look at this anxiety and start subsiding it, right? You can control this introspectively. You can subside this anxiety and bring it down. In your belly, you'll feel it. You can push this anxiety all the way down out of your system, right? But just pushing it down isn't going to help you, because it's like a balloon. You push it down, it's going to blow back up again. You push it down, it's like a helium balloon. It's going to come back up again, right? So the idea of this structure, when you're meditating, to push that anxiety down, but you're going to replace it with one of those emotions that you wrote down on your paper, right? So we have the negative emotion that we wrote down, what it is, right? How it's making us feel, and we're connecting with that, and we're pushing it down in a meditative state. while we're breathing really slowly, right? Because we've got control of our system. The next thing we do is we're going to replace that anxiety with another experience, another emotion, a feeling of confidence, a feeling of control, a feeling of well-being. Any of these are good. You can come up with your own, but you overlay that feeling with over that anxiety. You overlay. So you've pushed down the anxiety right down, and you're pushing over confidence, and you're replacing the confidence. You're constructing the confidence, how you want to feel in this moment going forward, how you want to feel moving into this next stage in your life. By doing this and replacing that emotion, you will notice after a while that you will feel that confidence coming. Now, it takes quite a bit of practice to do this. You'll need to do this over and over and over again to get in control of the state. But you can manage that feeling by replacing it with confidence. And the more you do this, the more you're going to be in control of your physiology, the more you're going to be in control of your serotonin, dopamine, and epinephrine, and being able to manage it so your system is working for you instead of against you. Now, this is one tool that we use out of a plethora of tools to help entrepreneurs get in charge of their lives and be in control of their lives. These two things, right? Taking your emotions, emotion swapping, and breathing, that physiological breathing where you're slowing your anxiety down. Two very powerful tools you can use right from today to change your life. Very transformative. And we've helped many, many of our clients go through this process, and it helps to subdue and control that anxiety so you can be more confident about taking action. Now, the next part is taking the action. You need to take the action. You need to move forward. Life is like that. In business and in all of this world, we need to feel that we need to be able to jump forward and do things to be able to have progress, right? Fear is only an emotion, right? Once you've controlled your fear and you've created a place where you can be more pragmatic and in control about what you're going to do, you're going to think better about it. You're going to be more clear about it. You're going to make better decisions about it, right? Controlling that anxiety, controlling that fear means you can now go and calculate and formulate what it means and what it means if you don't do this, because sometimes not doing this thing puts you in a very bad state of losing a lot more than by moving forward, right? If you don't start this new business, if you don't grow this new business, or if you don't do something to move forward, you might lose everything. So that fear is also a very big driver, right? So hopefully I've helped you. If you liked what I've spoke about today, like and share this, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Have an awesome $1 Million Morning. Talk to you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.